value in a good idea is in its implementation. The value of a good idea and good teaching is in the action. If you just sit back there and you just become, an educated derelict and you don't do anything with this information, you're going to feel even worse than if you didn't even know it.
We're talking about the why train. We're going to be talking about finding the need, finding the pain, and why does someone need a policy? Okay. We're going to talk about how to drive that why. Here's something that's important to understand. One of my mentors told me a long time ago, and I've tracked this, and this is just the reality of the situation that we are in. Okay. Let's say that this represents all of the leads that are created. 20% of every lead that is sent in, 20% of them, they won't buy. They don't care. They don't need it. They, for whatever reason, they don't have a family. These are the people that you're probably not going to be able to get in touch with. Those are going to be the people that don't answer. Now, once your skill set, your phone skills advanced, you might get good enough to book an appointment with this person, but when you get there, they're not going to be there. And in the situation that you actually book an appointment, you get there and they are there, you're going to know real quick this isn't important to them and you're wasting your time. I can't sell them. Bill Martin can't sell them. Christian can't sell. No one can sell these people. It's not important to them, and that's okay. On the same token, 20% of every lead that is created, they've already made the decision. They know it's important. They know they're going to handle it. They've had the conversation whenever they sent the lead in. They've already decided they're going to take care of this. It's important to them. They just, don't know what company they're going to go with yet. And whoever calls them first is probably going to write that unless you screw it up. Okay. The good thing about our business is we don't have a lot of overhead. There's not a lot of overhead expenses, to come out of our profit margins. We have insane profit margins in our business model. The only real expense we have is, licensing, lead costs, which is the most, that's the best place to ever invest your money. You're going to get the hugest return on investment than anywhere else you can find. And what gas, if you're going to physically see people, gas expense. Other than that, we don't really have a lot of overhead expense. So this 20% is going to cover your overhead. That's going to maybe put you a little bit in the green, but that's going to cover all of your monthly, all of your business expenses for sure. Now, the other 60% here, this other 60%, this is where everything matters. Like, this is where your skill set comes in. This is where your experience comes in. This is where the way you look, the way you smell, the way you stand. Do you make eye contact? How do you shake someone's hand? Do you smile at people? Do you connect with them? Have you worked on your craft? How many videos have you, of training videos have you done? Do you get on the conference calls? Do you track your numbers? How many appointments have you ran? All of that, everything comes in and factors into this 60%. And you know what? It is possible to get good enough to close all of this 60%. Okay, so you're always fighting for that edge. And there's all these different scenarios, ages, different things that come in that come into play. Have you been in this situation before? Okay, so one cool thing about our system is the lead. We only talk to people who have responded to us. Okay, so every now and then will someone respond to us that really doesn't need coverage or doesn't want it? Yeah, sometimes that happens. Okay, it's part of it. But usually, we send out 1,000 pieces of mail to everyone that closed on a mortgage, and we get what? If we send out 100, we'll get maybe 10 or 12 back. Okay, so we're talking to the 1.75% of every mortgage that is closed that actually filled out a pre-application, filled out a request, sent us something very specific. They know what they're trying to accomplish. So most of these people, most of them are in a situation already to where daddy dies, mom and the kids are going to lose their house. Okay, so that's a big portion of this, and it's usually all of this 20%. And it's a big portion of this. Like they're going to lose their house, okay, if they die. Now they may be in denial about that, but usually that's the case. Okay. Now it's up to us to make something make sense, to find the policy, to find where are they lacking and how does it make sense and how does it benefit them, and what do they want, and just helping them get what they want. A lot of people don't know what they want, and it's your ability to ask questions for them to even realize what they want or not. So we're going to cover a couple different scenarios. We're going to do something a little more advanced. That's basically in this 60%. There's going to be people that already have coverage. They feel like they're pretty sound already, and then we'll just look at this is the one thing that you need to be able to every single time. Anytime you're in a situation where, let's say, 35 years old, 29 years old, James and Linda, okay? James makes $3,500 a month at his job. All of his money's coming from his employment. That's why you want to know the sources. So this is going to be written on a client worksheet, okay? But you want to know the source of the money, because if it's from a job and you're dead, the job doesn't pay you anymore. Okay, so you want to know the source of the money. That's important. That's why it's on the client worksheet. We're going to say that Linda is a stay-at-home mom. Okay, she used to work, but they had a child. After the first child, she never went back to work. So now they've got, we'll say, two kids, 3 and 5. Okay, so their combined income is $3,500 per month. They have a $125,000 mortgage. Their payment is $890 per month. You're going to run into a lot of these situations. A lot of the people that fill out the form, this is their reality. So this situation is clear. It's evident that when James dies, $3,500 a month is gone. Linda makes $0 per month. I don't even have to ask. There's no way she can make an $890 monthly mortgage payment if she has no income. But you have to ask. Here's the temptation. This is where I see a lot of people, new agents, go down. You want to glaze over this. You've got to get uncomfortable here. What you want to do, what we want to do, because it's easy, is say, okay, James, well, when you die, you won't make this $3,500 a month anymore, obviously, because you'll be dead. And Linda, you don't have any income, so clearly you won't be able to pay the mortgage payment. So you would lose the house, and obviously you don't want to lose the house. So here's what we're going to do, and just start showing quotes. Okay, if you do that, even if they buy it, they're going to cancel it, because people don't make decisions based on logic. People make decisions based on emotion, backed by logic. You have to get into the emotion here for a long-lasting decision to be made. And if you don't, if you feel like your comfort level is more important in this situation, I can tell you that when the hot water heater goes out, they're going to cancel this, because it doesn't mean anything to them. It's a theoretical number with a monthly payment, and they look at it as an expense. But if you get into the actual situation and you dive into this and you get uncomfortable with them, this is the most important part of the whole thing. This is it right here, getting good at this part. So here's how you properly do it. James, if something happens to you, heaven forbid, what's going to happen to this $3,500 monthly income from work? Well, it's going to be gone. You make them say everything. I'm not telling them anything. I'm asking questions. They're telling me the problem. I'm just helping them. So that would be gone. Okay. So Linda, you would be living on zero. Is there anything else I don't know about? A trust fund, big bag of money, wealthy parents. Is there anything else I don't know about? No. So we would go from $3,500 a month to $0 a month and have 2 kids. Linda, is there any way that you could make this monthly mortgage payment, $900 mortgage payment, if something happens? Well, no. Well, what's our backup plan there? Well, we haven't really thought about it. We just bought the house. Well, do you have family here? I try to drive this question 5 layers deep. So, like, do you have family here? No. Where's your family? They're in Kansas. Would you have to live with them? Yeah, I guess so. Who? What family? Mother, brother, sister? I have to live with my sister. You and the kids? Yeah, I guess so. How big is their house? So I don't know her situation. She's thinking about her situation. She's thinking about, her brother-in-law and their relationship and their kids and who knows what all. I'm just asking to get down to what is the situation. And then I'll simply ask, well, Linda, is that what you want? And she'll say, no, absolutely not. James, what would you want it to look like for Linda? What would you want it to look like for your wife and kids? Something happened to you right now. Well, I'd want to be taken care of. Well, what does that mean? You have to get specific with people. What does that mean? Well, I at least wanted to, have the house, at least want my family to have a home. She'd have to get a job and go back to work, be able to take care of the kids, but if you guys, if they have a roof over their head, would you be okay, Linda? Like, yeah, I do what I had to do. I can always go back to work. As long as we had a house, we'd be fine. We'd make it. I'd make sure my babies are taken care of. Okay. Well, first of all, James, I respect you. I respect you. Linda, it would make you sick. Your stomach would turn if you knew how many husbands, fathers, sitting with right beside their wives at a table, kids playing in the other room, look me right in my eyes and say, well, look here, I'll be dead. They can bury me in the backyard. But that's not what James said. So, James, I respect you. I would do everything I can in my power to help you with this and make sure that your wife and kids have a place. Have a place. You work hard, to have a home for them, and we'll make sure they keep that. I'll do everything in my power to help you with that. So, James, if I sign off on a request and send it in to whatever company you want to go with, or whoever has the best rate, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to look at a couple of things. They're going to look at your motor vehicle report. You have any DUIs or suspended license or anything like that? No. Okay, we're good there. Have you ever been medically declined for coverage? They're going to look at your MIB. No, never had coverage. Okay. The biggest thing they're going to look at, James, is your prescription report. So they're going to see everything that you filled at the pharmacy to make sure it matches what I've told them, and you're not taking, heart medicine or blood thinners or cancer medicine or something we didn't tell them about. So what are they going to see whenever they pull that? And everything that he says, and then you got to check on it to see if that company will even take that. Okay, so that's the final takeaway, and they know that they need this. So this situation, you've got to kill this. You've got to be able to, every single time you're in this situation, you can't leave without an app. Like, you screwed something up if you leave without an application. The whole point of this is to make sure, it wasn't because you didn't want to get uncomfortable. Okay, that that you did everything that you could. You left everything on the table, and if you leave there and James dies and that family loses their house, that is his fault, and he's probably sleeping on the couch for 2 months after you leave, because it's very clear. Get uncomfortable with it and be real with people. That's your job. Your job is to make sure they don't go into foreclosure, and you're the most important person that's ever going to walk into their house.
Just keep things very simple. Remember, you're there to help people. Like, if you go in there trying to sell them, you're going to make this way harder than it needs to be. Keep the main thing the main thing. Figure out where they are, where they need to be, and just try to help them get as far from the situation that they're in, that they're telling you they don't want to be in, and as close to the situation that they're telling you they do want to be in. So, guys, I hope that helps. Just be in a race for experience and try to force your will through the learning curve as fast as possible. For the rest of you that maybe have been around for a while, maybe you've seen all of this so many times and you're just fighting for that edge of the 60%. You're fighting for, through your next breakthrough and pushing into your profit margin of that 60%. Christian wanted to spend some time talking a little bit more advanced scenarios. So if you're new, until you've ran probably 30 or 40 appointments, this may not apply as much. But I'm about to turn Mr. Christian Pounder loose on you. Enjoy.
Yeah, this stuff can just be used to pay the house off. I guess this stuff makes sense. I don't move forward anymore because I've uncovered that. So by the time I'm moving forward, we're already on the same page about everything they have. And one thing I think people get nervous about, give the client an opportunity to tell you the truth. Give them an opportunity to tell you no. Like, give them an opportunity to show you that it doesn't make sense or it does make sense. That's the only way that it's going to stick, and it's going to be an easy close.
Okay. So we've got a $168,000 mortgage here. I'm going to say it's a 15-year term. This is a refinance. They've got an $1,890 monthly mortgage payment. The property is worth $250,000, which puts them with $82,000 worth of equity so far. Christian, what does John's income look like? Is he still working, or is he retired? Or
he's working. He's got 5 more years working, and he's very adamant about his insurance through work. Mm-hmm. They pay him $150,000.
Okay.
If he passes away at work, so we're going to handle that. John makes $5,500 a month. Okay. Linda makes $2,200 a month. That would be a combined income of $77,000. Okay. Down at the bottom, I want you to put John has a $50,000 whole life policy, and we've already looked at it. It's a good policy. Okay. Linda has a $20,000 policy. Okay. John has coverage through work, but obviously we've taken away, and it said, John, obviously, I love work insurance because it's free or cheap, but obviously, this, John, if you don't work there, you don't have it. And then he says, yeah, like when I retire, I'm not going to have anything. And then I'll ask him, okay, John, so basically, you're okay with you having all your eggs in one basket while you're at work and having that work insurance cover you, even though you don't own it? Yes. So basically, you're concerned about when you retire, you can't take it with you. And then obviously, if you can, the price is going to be so outrageous it wouldn't make sense for you anyways. Is that what you're saying? Yes. So John, basically what you're telling me is you're wanting to get something that's going to cover that gap while you still owe debt and you don't have the coverage through work anymore. Is that what you're saying, John? Yes. You see, so in that situation, he just told you what he wanted. You worked your way around the work insurance because he found a solution that he wanted because he told you based on the questions that you're asking. So now we still have the whole life policy. Okay, John, so let me ask you this, because obviously, this has to have value to you guys for you guys to do anything. Just like me and my family, if something doesn't have value, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to talk to you like you were my dad. I'd say, Pops, look, so if you have $50,000 in life insurance, okay, let's just say, let's fast forward, you're retired, and this is all you have, this $50,000 policy. You want this $50,000 to go toward the debt, whatever the debt is, and Linda have no cash? Or do you like the idea of Linda having all that life insurance in cash without having any debt to have to pay off? At this point, here's very important. At this point, you give John the opportunity to make his own decisions. See, remember this. When most people, when they're presented an opportunity to do the right thing, they typically do it.
Yep.
But you have to give them the opportunity to do it. So you ask John, there's no right or wrong here. It's obviously up to you. I can probably assume by talking to you and kind of knowing a little bit about you what you're going to tell me, but I'm going to ask you anyways. This $50,000 in life insurance, if when you die, do you want Linda to have to use that to pay whatever debt's left? Or do you think it would make sense and value to you to have something set up to cover the debt specifically, to where Linda can now take that $50,000 and live on it, just to deal with emergencies or have a big nest egg without having to have that debt? And I know that $2,200 a month she'll have is going to go a whole lot further without that mortgage payment. Which one do you want? Do you want the first example or the second? Well, I want the second. Okay, perfect. Then I see where I can be of value to you. So let's figure this out. So right now you have work insurance for $150,000. If you died, that would be enough to pay your debt off, right? Yes. You have it for 15 years. You're going to retire in 10 years, right? Yes. Okay. Or 5 years, excuse me. So hear me out. When you retire, you're going to have 10 years left on your mortgage, okay? And you're going to owe less on your house in that time. So I'd say it's safe to say you owe probably $50,000 less. Don't you agree? What do you think you owe, John? Yeah, probably about that. So you probably owe about 120 to 130,000 when you retire and your life insurance is gone. So let's figure out how this makes sense for you, John. If you owe 120,000 when you retire on your house and you don't have any life insurance, why don't we look at having a plan that lasts for the time you have the debt? Because really, John, let me ask you this. If you don't have any debt, how much insurance do you really need? I mean, do you want to be paying for something as far as insurance if you don't have any debt? Well, not really. Okay, so let's just focus on having something to cover the debt when you have it and still cover you when your work insurance is gone. Does that make sense? Yes. John, you have two options. You can either do something when you're 61 and you're relatively healthy and I have a good shot at getting you the coverage, or you can wait till you're 66. That's 5 years older. Let me tell you this, John. Every year in your 60s, the age increase, the premium increases these insurance companies put on this is astronomical. You would not believe what 5 years will make in a difference in price-wise. And you're going to be making less money. So now if you wait, you're paying more and making less. And that 5 years, as far as health risk, 5 years may not seem like a long time from 21 to 26 as far as health risk. When you're talking about 61 years old to 66, that 5 years sure is a long time as far as something happening to you health-wise. Wouldn't you agree, John? Yeah. Okay. So here's what we can do. If you were ever going to do anything as far as insurance, 61 is going to be the best time to do it. Just like we talked about, they're going to raise the price on you. And health-wise, if you get something that makes you uninsurable, you're toast. You're done. And then when you retire and don't have the work insurance, it's over. And what you wanted to happen isn't going to happen. Okay. So tell me if this makes sense. Looking at $120,000 worth of coverage just to cover the debt for the whole 15 years. That way, when you retire in 5 years and your debt is less, that 120 now picks it up for the remaining 10 years that you have the mortgage, and it covers you for the whole time, just like you want it to with Linda. Does that make sense, John? Yes. See, in that example, people, what you just did was you took a situation to where it didn't look like John was going to have value in anything because he was dead set on his work insurance. I took his work insurance and I worked with him on that. And what I did was I broke that down and made him tell me that my work insurance isn't sufficient for me because when I retire, I'm not going to have that. Logically, it makes sense to have something outside of that because I still want to protect my wife. But in order to get him there, you have to know the whole picture and you have to allow him to tell you yes or no. Because if I would have asked John, let me ask you a question. When you retire, this work insurance is gone, right? Okay, yeah. Do you still want to be covered when you're retired? Do you still want to have coverage while you have debt? If John tells me no, I'm not talking to John anymore about it because he doesn't care and I'm not going to sit here and waste my time. If he tells me yes, all I'm doing is leading him further down the trail to make the close easy and make it of value to him. Always give the client an opportunity to tell you what they want because most of the time they'll do the right thing if you give them the opportunity and don't skip over it. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that, Nate.
Here's the thing to keep in mind. John had this $50,000 whole life policy already. He had the policy before he refinanced his house, before he owed this $168,000. He already had this $50,000 policy that he wanted Linda to have for whatever reason whenever he died already. So keep that in mind. He already had that. He knew he had that when he sent the form in. He knew he had that when you called him, Christian. He knew he had that when he sat down to talk to you about this. Okay. So to kind of piggyback on that, I like to separate things. Okay. So okay, you have this $50,000 whole life policy. Man, how long have you had that? Have you had it a long time? Oh yeah, I got it back when I was 30. Man, you did good. So anytime that you want to take something from someone, you have to edify them. Okay. So I'm going to edify him for getting this $50,000 whole life policy. Man, you probably don't pay anything for it. That, kudos to you for that, for taking the time to set that up. So many people don't. So tell me, John, this $50,000 policy, is this going to something in particular? You have this set, for a specific reason? And if he does, great. Well, that has nothing to do with the mortgage. Okay. If he doesn't, and say, well, I just wanted to, leave Linda with something, then, okay. So is that $50,000? Is that to replace your income? Most people get life insurance to replace the income. Because I mean, John, if something happens to you, after you retire, or, if you get diagnosed with cancer and you can't work anymore, that's the thing about work insurance. If you drop dead today, you're probably covered. Okay. But what we see usually is, most people don't just die. Most people get sick, they go through treatment, and, they don't get better, and then they die. Like if I get diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, I might die 2 years later in a hospital bed, but I'm no longer able to work if I have cancer. So the time I die, I'm no longer employed, so I'm no longer covered. Okay, so that's a good thing to make sure they understand. Okay, so that's why it's good, John, whatever you set up here, working not, sick not, doesn't matter. Something happens to you, Linda's going to be taken care of. Okay, so this $50,000, that was to replace your income here. Okay, very good. So something happens to you, John, it's going to be like you're still alive working for almost 1 full year for her to still have that income. Okay, hey, is that enough? Probably not, but it's better than most people have. So are you more so just concerned with this mortgage to make sure this mortgage is taken care of? Yes, I'll help you. Okay, I'll do everything I can to help you with that. So looking at the situation here, and you always have to do some form of this. Okay, this is one of those situations where people have coverage. We're trying to do this example for that guy that is more adamant. This is the 60% that we talked about, that your skill set and your experience comes into play, that you can close or you can fluke. Okay. So that's why we wanted to take some time discussing this, but I'm still going to kill John off and get into the situation. Okay. So John, something happens to you at age 67 as it sits right now. Yeah. You're retired, heaven forbid something happens to you, in your 70s or right after retirement. This $5,500 is going to be gone, obviously, right? What happens to that if you die? Are they still going to pay you? No, that's gone. Okay. So, Linda, we're going to go from $7,700 a month of income to $2,200 per month. Is there anything else I don't know about other than this little policy here to kind of help her take care of emergencies and things? Is there anything else that she would have access to? No. Okay, so Linda, you would be living on $2,200 per month, and you would have a $1,890 mortgage payment. Linda, is there any way that you could still make this mortgage payment and take care of everything else expense-wise that you have? They haven't had this conversation, so I'm going to dig into that and say, well, so you would lose the house, you would lose all of the equity in the house, so that is where you have to really get good at dissecting that, taking things away and looking at the situation. Okay, what is going to happen? She's going to tell you what's going to happen in that worst case scenario, and then I'm just simply going to ask her, well, Linda, is that what you want? Like, do you have to go live with your kids? Well, no. Well, John, what would you want it to look like for Linda? What would you want it to look like for your wife if something happened to you? Well, I want to make sure the house is taken care of. Okay. I will do everything I can within my power to help you with that, John. If I sign off on a request and send it into an insurance company, the first thing they're going to do is pull your prescription report. So tell me what prescriptions that you're taking so I can find which company is going to would even possibly approve you, and of those companies, who has the best rate. Okay, so after you drive the why and you get into that situation and they're telling you, okay, yes, this is what I want to accomplish, that's the final takeaway of, okay, well, I'll do everything I can in my power, but first we need to see if you can qualify for anything. So what kind of prescriptions are you on? Practice this. Go fill out blank client worksheets. That's what me and Christian just did here. We just made this example up. This is the example for the more advanced situations. Now you're not going to run into this as much, but hey, what if it makes 33% up of this other 60%? What if it's 20%? Like every situation, this is your profit margin. The better you are at these situations, the more situations you've been in, the more profitable you are. And that's always increasing as you get into more of these situations and you don't close them, and you call, ask for help, and you make tweaks going forward. And then the next time you're in that situation, you're thinking, well, I know what I did last time in this situation. I know what I when it worked. I know what I did when it didn't work. And, you start getting better at your craft. And that's what these training videos are all about. What are your thoughts, Christian?
Yeah, I think a huge thing to take away from this is the value in a good idea is in its implementation. The value of a good idea and good teaching is in the action. If you just sit back there and you just become, an educated derelict and you don't do anything with this information, you're going to feel even worse than if you didn't even know it. I'd rather know what not to do and not do it than know what to do and still not do it. And the key to this is there's no shortcutting any of this. You have to go through each and every single situation in a house to really understand what we're teaching you. Before you do, it's all theory. See, we're not teaching on theory because we're telling you out of experience. See, when you translate from theory to experience, that's when the power comes in this teaching, right? So you're going to have to run into these situations to know really what we're talking about. But there's only a certain handful of situations. The pie chart that Nate drug out, he taught me that right when I first started, and it still sticks with me. 20% are never going to buy. They're just jerks. They don't know why they filled it out. They're just dumb. Whatever. Okay. 20% are buying no matter what. They're sick. They need coverage, or they've already had the conversation like Nate was saying, and they're going to buy. And then the 60% is the profit margin. That's where you're going to run into the different situations to where here's what you need to do. You need to call your manager or whoever you feel comfortable to train you, and you need to go over that situation with them. That's what I did with Nate. It had so much value on me because once you run into all the situations, once you run into all of them, there's nothing that you won't be able to handle. And so what you'll do is you'll just get better and better at every situation the more times you run into it. And then you'll close the gap and it'll be 80% close. Everything that you can close, you will close. It just takes time. You cannot shortcut this thing. You have to go through the situations, and that comes by getting out in the field and experiencing it. But the payoff is unreal compared to the uncomfortable times you go through by going through it.
Incredible. Absolutely. If you're brand new, I want to give a shout out to brand new people. If you're brand new, your job is to fill out a client worksheet, send it to me or your manager. So we can just text it to us where we can look at it and take two looks at that client worksheet and tell you what to write. But before you do that, you don't just fill out a client worksheet and send it to us. You've got to drive this why. And if you get me on the telephone with you, I'm going to get into the why with them, or I'm not even going to look at it because I need to know what we're doing. Why are we even doing this? Okay. The client has to convince me to help them because I'm not just throwing stuff against the wall here. It needs to make sense. If they got $1 million of coverage, you better get to explaining to me why we need this. And the insurance company will want to know too. they might think he's suicidal or something. He's got $1 million of coverage. He's trying to get a lot more coverage. Well, hold on, mate. What's going on with this guy? He makes $50,000 a year. So I mean, there's suitability. There's many factors for people, to get approved or not. So hope this helps. We're going to cut one more video. After this is draw it out, which is presenting the options. After you've done the Y train, you've found out the prescriptions that they're on. That helps you with the product selection. And then you draw everything out visually for them so they can choose which coverage selection that they want to do, and then you close the deal. After we finish this series, the very next video that we're doing is the basics of field underwriting, where you'll start having an idea based on what prescriptions they take to know what companies to look at. Then whenever you text us and send us, hey, here's the situation I'm in, I'm thinking I need to go Foresters. That way you're already educated, you know what's going on, and we can say, well, actually with this one, you might want to look at CFG, or you might want to look at GPM. But after a while, we're going to start saying, yep, you're good. And after about 30 times of us saying, hey, you're good, you start knowing what you're doing, and you don't have to really reach out as much. But in the beginning, it's very important. Christian called me after every single in the car, right when he got in the car. This is what happened. What could I have done different? It was never anybody else's fault. He took complete ownership in everything. And he believes, as do I, that anybody that sits down with me, if I don't write them an application, I'd screw something up. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing and sit down with someone and talk about insurance if I don't want insurance. You've got to get to the point to where you realize that it's you and it's your skill set, and and work on that and go get experience. The more experience that you have, things are just going to start taking place. So hope this helps. As you're running business, dissect which section of this process that you're struggling in your weekend. I encourage you to record yourself, not so anyone else can hear it, just so you can go back and look at it and say, man, I need to kind of step up this part of my process. And that's why we've broken this down in different sections, to where if you're struggling driving to Y, watch this video again, or whichever section that you're on. Christian, thanks so much for everything you do for the team, my friend. You're an absolute stud. $50,000 last month, personally produced. It's incredible, man. I don't even know what to say about that. It's and I feel like you're just getting started. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on everything. Guys, I hope this helps. Let's go hard charge and take care of some families. We will talk to you next week, Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. All of the recordings and all of our teachings, as well as live sales, live dials, are on ptpgroups.info in order. If you're watching this on YouTube, do Christian a favor. If you felt like he helped you, drop him one of these, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to where you will be in the loop on further content comes out that may or may not make its way onto the website. Guys, we will see you